Good morning and welcome to Charlie's Corner. Today we're going to talk about creation versus the Big Bang. There's a big controversy over that. People have killed each other over this thing, okay? And I fail to see the issue. All right. The three conflicts that I found in these two theories is time, the length of time that it took for this all to happen. The Bible versus the Big Bang. The second thing is who's responsible? Was it God or was it spontaneous? The third conflict in these two issues is the sequence with which they happened. Each day, what was created when. Those are the three major conflicts, and we'll cover each one. Okay, let's do time first. The Big Bang Theory posits that this universe is just over 13 billion years old. A lot of Christians believe that it's only about like 6,000 years old. Well, first of all, time didn't come into existence until the creation of the universe itself. And so before the universe, there was no such thing as time. All right? And God, who's always been and always will be, has to give us reference points. It's a way of putting these little events into boxes so that we can better understand them. Was a day in the Bible, was that a 24-hour period? Let's have a look at Genesis 2:4. And this is right after God blessed the seventh day. In 2:4 it says, "These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens." Well, first of all, it states, "These are the generations of the heavens." It doesn't say this is the day. And then it goes on to say, "In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens." Well, God didn't make the earth and the heavens in one day. So they may be talking about like an event, like back in the day. That's not referencing a day. That's referencing back in the day, a period of time. All right? And so the first 4 days can be interpreted as epic events that happened at a certain time. All right? Instead of like a day. It just goes on, it just how you can interpret that. In 2 Peter 3:8, if we read that, Peter says, "But beloved, be not ignorant in this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." Now, it doesn't say that one day is 1,000 years. It says it's as 1,000 years. What Peter's saying is, a day to the Lord is a really freaking long time. Okay? It's like almost unimaginable. Can you imagine? Can you really picture 1,000 years? It's almost inconceivable. So to the Lord, a day is like this almost inconceivable long amount of time, according to Peter. So the universe might be like just over 13 billion years. And it doesn't really conflict with what the Bible's saying. The second conflict has to do with who's responsible. All right. Genesis 1:1 spells it right out. Genesis 1:1 states, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Well, there it is. That tells us who. Who did this? God did it. If you go to the Big Bang Theory, they call it a spontaneous event. Well, I'm going to go into exactly what happened at the creation of the universe. All right? And you're going to see that the word spontaneous, they use that because they have no idea. All right? They just have no idea how it came about, how that happened. All right? So they call it spontaneous because they can't tell you how. But the Bible does. God did it. Now, in the sequence of events, which is the third conflict, we're going to go over the first 4 days of creation, and within each day, the thing that happens during that day. Now, the Bible kind of puts these days into an order that doesn't go along with the Big Bang Theory, and we'll go over that. I'm not sure that that's really super important. I mean, is that really the focus? All right. The Bible tells you who created the universe, and then the events, or what happened within each day of that creation, what he did on each day of that creation. All right. And the Big Bang Theory tells you that how the universe came into existence, and then the sequence of events that happened after that, in each day, for lack of a better word, of what happened and what was being formed during those times. All right, so let's get started. All right, in Genesis 1, Genesis starts out where it establishes that God created the universe. That's all the first verse says. The second verse, it explains what exists at that time. All right, there's a nothingness. It's black. It actually calls about. It says, "The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters." But water wasn't created till the second day, so it didn't exist yet. The Hebrew word for that actually refers to the deep. It's explaining a deep, dark void, a nothingness, and God exists during this. He's got this nothingness here. There's absolutely nothing. All right. The Big Bang Theory actually says the same exact thing. Before the universe came into existence, there was a void. There was a nothingness. All right. I can't really go into quantum physics in this video because it would take too long to explain. But the first thing that God creates is light. Okay. So God says, "Let there be light." And all of a sudden there's nothingness, there's blackness, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's light. What happens during an explosion? Boom, there's light. All right? On the other side, the science says that there was a void. Within these voids, there are virtual particles. It's not real particles, they're virtual particles, but there's also a vacuum energy. And you can look all this stuff up, okay? I'm not going to go into it. They don't know where this energy comes from. We do, but they don't know where this energy comes from. Now remember what I said. The quantum physics teacher told me, the professor, she told me that matter was the same thing. That space was the same thing as matter, except it didn't have enough energy to be matter. Well, what if you add more energy? Well, then you're going to have matter, actually from nothing. And there's a Japanese physicist who proved this, all right? And they have no idea where this vacuum energy comes from, but it's there, all right? So from nothing comes matter by energy. This is actually the same thing that the Bible's saying, okay? And there's a great explosion, the Big Bang. All right, on day 2, it talks about the firmament, and it discusses the separation of the firmament, the waters, which could be the stuff that was floating around from the Big Bang. He separated it. And some of it he put above the firmament, which is the sky. Okay, the curvature, that's the firmament of the sky. Some of this he put above it, and some of it he put below it. Okay, that would be the stuff that the earth is made of. Okay, it hadn't formed yet into a planet, but all the stuff is there. And in the Big Bang Theory, there are two forces in the universe. You've got gravity, the force of gravity, and the force of dark energy, which makes up like 67 or 68% of the mass of our universe today. They call it dark energy, not because it's like evil, but because they can't see it and they can't explain it. All right, but there's this energy that gravity tends to pull things together, and the dark energy tends to pull things apart. So while gravity is pulling all these particles together, then dark energy is expanding the universe, and they're interacting with each other. And when you get those two, it starts to do this. All right, so you get these spinning motions, which you see in the orbits of planets. You see it in the galaxies, and see how they have the spiral galaxies. This spinning sensation caused by the two forces interacting, one pulling stuff together and one pulling everything apart. All right. So now we move on to for the next day. In the Bible, that's when dry land was created. He separated the water now that's in the earth from and the land. He separated them, made land and oceans. Okay, and then he made plants as well. On day 4, he creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, if you turn them around, all right, in sequence, then it goes along with the Big Bang Theory, in that after the firmaments are separated and they're starting to form. Well, then what happens on the next day? Our suns and are formed, our moon is formed, the earth is formed, the stars are formed. This all happens in day 4 in the Bible. All right, and who's doing this? Well, God's doing it, but the Big Bang Theory just says it's these forces of gravity and dark energy. All right. Now on to the next day. Now we cover day 3, which is where we got the Earth, right? And through science, we talk about plate tectonics, where the plates are moving and some over the top of each other, and land is starting to rise up out of the waters. All right. In the Bible, it's day 3, and God is separating the land from the water. All right. I don't know. I can't really explain the switching of day 3 and day 4 in the sequence that goes along with the Big Bang, But if you take each day individually, these sequence of events actually correspond to what science is telling us. If you read the science, they're telling you the same exact thing. All right. The difference is in the Bible, Moses is saying, because he wrote Genesis, he's saying that God is doing this, and science leaves that little bit out. They just say it just happened. Let me just remind you about that. Nothing just happens. All right. When time was created, it's confined within the universe. God's outside the universe because he's, as far as time goes, okay, he's not a part of time. So time exists from beginning to end right now. All of it. All of time exists right now. All right. Then space was also created, right? So God is something outside of space because he created space, right? So he's something, he's not space, so he's outside of it, all right? And so he's not subject to the rules of space, which is why God can be everywhere and in one specific place at the same time. It gives some of that actually explains some of the characteristics of God. They say, well, how can he be here, in our presence? Like you can feel the presence of God, and you say, well, how can he be here and how can he be everywhere at one, both at the same time? Well, that's why, because the rules of space don't apply to him. He's outside that. And the same thing with time. He gives us these days as references so that we can actually comprehend what he's telling us. Without these, we would not understand, we wouldn't be able to comprehend the information that he's given us. We have to reference things according to time and space. That's all we know. So in conclusion, I've come to this. Both theories tell you what happened. The Bible tells me who's responsible, and the Big Bang actually describes the events physically of what's going on. So the Big Bang, the theory of the Big Bang, is actually describing how God created the universe. I don't see a major conflict. If you take the conflict of time, which is irrelevant, and the sequence of the days and the length of the days, you have to think about those things. But I gave you my opinion on those things. So anyways, you have a great day. And I mean a day like today. And join me next time when we discuss evolution. And that's going to be interesting. So join me join me next time on Charlie's Corner. You can hit the like button, comment if you like, and let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time on Charlie's Corner.